Putting your faith first, I mean, people of lots of different faiths might do that. How does it turn so violent, and where is it in Islam and in the Quran that says, you know, because we hear so often, actually, you know, to take one life is as if you kill all of humanity. But there are verses in the Quran, let's be frank, aren't there, which advocate violence?
The difference between this and having just a simple faith and being committed is that this type of reading of Islam is one that wants to empower itself, but also wants to disempower every other way of life. And it will take violence as a means to do that. It takes verses within the Quran out of context, out of its philosophy of ethics, and uses them for its own means.
OK. How do you get inside the heads of these people who are prepared to go and die and kill other people?
Well, we need to completely transform, and this is what we argue at Quilliam, is that we need a reform of the way that we understand the Islamic faith. If we are able to reform the Islamic faith, then we will create a divide and create this distance between young people being attracted to this kind of narrative. That's one of the most important things that we need to do.
There are nearly 2,000 mosques in this country, of which it's believed over 100 currently are funded by foreign states like Saudi Arabia and Qatar to promote the Wahhabi interpretation of Islam, the very extreme, draconian way, which is what ISIS and others represent as well. That seems to me extremely worrying, that there are so many mosques in this country right now, 1 in 20 perhaps, which are being funded and promoted to promote extremism. Let's call it what it is.
Absolutely, and it's extremely worrying, and this should be the #1 concern for Brits and for the Muslim communities, that somehow this type of exported pernicious reading of Islam has somehow weaseled its way in to Muslim communities. And I, for some time now, have spoken openly against any kind of funding coming from Saudi Arabia to export its pernicious religion.
I don't understand why we allow it. If you tried to set up Christian churches with a very extreme view of Christianity in the middle of Jeddah or Riyadh, you wouldn't get past the passport control. And yet here we seem to just, talking of what Theresa May referred to yesterday as this tolerance of extremism, we've allowed over 100 mosques, so it is said, to be set up and funded by the Saudis to promote the most extreme form of the religion. This can't be right.
See, the thing that's very absurd here is that most Muslims don't know the difference between Islam and Wahhabism.
What is the difference? Spell it out very simply.
So Wahhabism is an interpretation that is a very intolerant, hateful interpretation and very schismatic, and pits itself against actually most Muslims and their beliefs. Its founder, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, started this interpretation in the 18th century, and if we look at its history, it was very bloody and very intolerant.
Is it what ISIS signs up to?
Absolutely. If you look at the publications, the ISIS publications, their ideologues, who are they? Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, the founder of Wahhabism. There is no difference between the religion that's understood in Saudi Arabia and what we see with ISIS.
Do we have Muslim imams in these mosques who are preaching this form of Islam?
Absolutely. The Manchester attacker, the mosque that he attended and was barred from, Didsbury Mosque, we know that they propagate and preach a Wahhabi type of reading of Islam. We know this now. And the question is, when are we going to stop?
Well, it has to stop, doesn't it? I mean, you have to cut the funding off. You have to make it illegal for these foreign countries to sponsor and fund this type of extremist teaching in this country, don't we?
Absolutely, but the challenge now is for the Muslim community to make that distinction. Many of them are ignorant of Wahhabism.
Are they ignorant, or are they fearful, rightly fearful perhaps, of retribution if they try and stand up to this? I
say there are 3 reasons. Firstly, that they are ignorant and they can't make that distinction. Secondly, they are afraid. I agree with you there, because there's often, when anyone speaks out, and I've been a victim of this myself, anyone who speaks out against Wahhabism, this kind of intolerant reading of Islam, there is a massive backlash. And thirdly, there are individuals that actually support this reading.
When you say you've experienced that backlash yourself, what's happened?
Well, completely ostracised from the community. I've been excommunicated. I've been named an apostate. All sorts of things. My life has also been threatened.